Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om. May the Lord protect us both, the teacher and the taught, together by revealing knowledge. May He protect us both by giving us the results of knowledge. May we attain vigor together. Let what we learn, let what we study be illuminating. May we not cavil at each other. Om, peace, peace, peace. So, we are studying the Katha Upanishad, and the question that the student, the little boy Nachiketa, asks Yama, the Lord of Death. He asks the question about the nature of the self. Who am I, or what am I? The fundamental question in Vedanta. Now, Yama, first he dissuades the little boy from asking this question, saying it's very difficult, very subtle. When the boy persists, he tempts the student with all sorts of worldly and otherworldly temptations, and the student demonstrates his readiness by showing his dispassion, that he does not want any of that. He just wants the answer to his question, the secret of the self, what we are. And then Yama is very happy, and he's going to teach Vedanta now. But before that, he makes some preliminary observations about the nature of the spiritual path, about spiritual knowledge, about the student, about the teacher. So this is what is going on now. This will go on up to the 12th, 13th mantra in this section. So far we see Yama has made a very important observation that these two things come to us all the time. What are these two things? The pleasant and the good, the beneficial. Preya and Sreya. Preya means that which is nice, that which is pleasant. And unfortunately, that which is ultimately good for us is often not the apparently pleasant path. So the Sreya, that which is ultimately good. What is ultimately good for us? Ultimately good is moksha, liberation, spiritual freedom, enlightenment. That is ultimately good. That is the ultimate goal of all spiritual paths, not just Vedanta. That is the purpose of all the religions, ultimate purpose. Now, in that pleasant, the Preya, there are two varieties. In the pleasant itself, there are two varieties. See, there are basically two ways of leading life. One is the pursuit of pleasure and success in the world without any attention to morality, ethics, the good life, without any attention to that. Just how can I get, be happier? How can I be more successful? In Sanskrit, these two are called kama and artha. Kama means the pursuit of pleasure, all sorts of pleasure, from a cookie to the pleasure of, say, classical music or something, all of it. From gross pleasures to refined pleasures, pursuit of pleasure, that is kama, basically sensuous pleasure. And the pursuit of success, wealth, literally money, also property and achievement and position and status. So all sorts of success in life, artha. And if someone pursues this without any other goal, this is primary. This is the instinctive way of leading life, that which comes naturally to a lot of people. What's wrong with it? It produces great suffering pretty soon, in this life itself. Suffering for oneself and suffering for others. Why does it produce suffering? We've talked about this earlier also, because the things that we get by this pursuit, whether it's pleasure, the objects which give us pleasure, money, possessions, relationships, power, status, by themselves, they are impermanent. They're fleeting, transient. Even when we get them, they are not satisfying. You see, if we look at the richest people, the most famous people, people with the maximum number of Facebook friends, people who are on the covers of magazines, glamorous people, strong, physically strong people, all sorts of this kind of pleasure and success, none of it is deeply satisfying. It is more satisfying to those who don't have it. We think if I were that rich, that young again, and that famous, then I would really be happy. We don't know. It's just, the answer to that is pretty easy. Just look closely at the lives of who are that rich and that young and that famous and that beautiful. Clearly, they are not very happy. Why would we be any different? And then finally, the other problem would be that they are binding. They are addictive. In the sense, if you plunge into that and you think that kind of pleasure and possessions is going to make us happy, it is habit forming. That little bit of pleasure is not sufficient next time. We need more of it, more variety of it, and we keep trying in the hope that we will actually get lasting satisfaction. Nobody ever has, and we'll fail also. So this is not a wise way of leading life in this world. There is a wise way of doing the same things. What is the wise way? The wise way is the moral way, the ethical way, the decent way. So most people, luckily, belong to the second category, who want success in this world, who want to be wealthy, who want to be happy in this world. But they also see themselves as good people, as moral people, as decent people, luckily. And that's why society persists. Society exists, civilization exists, because most people are like this, not the first category. But both of these, whether in an immoral, unethical way, chasing artha and kama, success and pleasure, or on the basis of morality, dharma, one still pursues artha and kama. My pursuit of artha and kama, success and pleasure, is limited by, guided by, disciplined by dharma. That I really want to do well in this world, but not at the expense of becoming an immoral person, not at the expense of being a thief or a crooked person or a nasty person. No. This person is intelligent. If the goal is happiness, the person who pursues worldly goals within the limits of an ethical life is actually a more intelligent person, because that gives a deeper and more lasting and more sustainable happiness than the earlier one. It takes a little bit of maturity and insight to see. But both of these, the immoral, power-crazy, pleasure-seeking person and the moral, ethical person who's still seeking pleasure, power, success in this world, all of it falls under the term Preya, the pleasant life. Beyond this, beyond even the dharmic life, beyond even the ethical life, is the spiritual life. That is called Sreya. That is ultimately beneficial, ultimately good. If the Preya is a good life, the Sreya is the ultimately good life. The ultimately good life is that which is, many names are there, moksha, nirvana, kaivalya, many terms are there. This was sort of the project of the Indian civilization for 4,000 or 5,000 years. That could we solve, really, totally, deeply solve the problem of life? And the answer was yes. The answer from all the traditions in Hinduism, in Buddhism, Sikhism, and Sri Ramakrishna's point of view that all religions actually answer in the affirmative. So that there is a deep solution to the problem of life. From immorality to morality to spirituality. Spirituality is what is meant by Sreya here, the higher life. The second point that Yama makes to Nachiketa is the two cannot be combined. It might strike some. How about having both? The higher goal, I'll become enlightened, I'll be a Buddha, and also I'll be a billionaire, and also I'll be very famous, and also I'll be an Olympic athlete. So there's some people are smiling already. It's a nice picture, right? And also, after the death of this physical body, I will go to the higher heavens. Why not? So Yama points out, no, they cannot be combined. Enlightenment, moksha, liberation, salvation, whatever you call it, cannot be combined. God and mammon, as the Christ said, cannot be worshipped together. You can't have both. Why not? It sounds nice. The commentator explained, they're like light and darkness. And they're like dream and waking. You can't have both together. You want to wake up, you have to wake up. To go on dreaming, then go on dreaming. If you want enlightenment, then the play of Maya will come to an end. You can't have both together. Yama said, viparite, they go in opposite directions. One is the path of samsara, subject to multiple lives, coming and going, birth and death. The other one is moksha, freedom from the cycle of birth and death. Then he says, in the sixth, let's come to the sixth mantra. What is the sixth mantra? What does it say? Na sāmparāyaḥ pratibhāti bālaṃ pramādyantaṃ vittamohena mūḍham ayaṃ loko nāsti parayati mānī punaḥpunarvaśamāpadyate me. The means for the attainment of the other world does not become revealed to the non-discriminating man who blunders, being befooled by the lure of wealth, one that constantly thinks that there is only this world and none hereafter, comes under my sway again and again. A dire warning. Let us see what he is saying here. He says, bālaṃ. He says, for the foolish one, the one who is on the other path, the path of the pleasant, maybe the crazy power seeker, wealth seeker, pleasure seeker, or the more decent, upright, honest person, but they're both, bālaṃ means child. From a spiritual perspective, they're children. Why are they children? Because like children, they're immature about the nature of the world. They don't understand. What is it that they don't understand? Na sāmparāyaḥ pratibhāti bālaṃ. The word, he uses a technical word here, sāmparāyaḥ. It's something to do with Vedic knowledge. So this Vedic knowledge is does not flash upon, is not clear, does not seem real to these childish people. I won't say childlike. It's good to be childlike. There's a difference between being childlike and childish. So these people are childish. So what is this Vedic knowledge? You see, the commentator says, paraloka tat prapti prayojana sadhana vishesha shastriya. The scriptural knowledge, the one that is revealed in the text. What is revealed in the text? That there is something beyond this world. This world is not the end. This body is neither the beginning of the story nor the end of the story. That we have existed before this life, that we will continue to exist after death, that there are other lives, other worlds. This kind of thinking is not acceptable to immature minds. It's very interesting that I have had people come and tell me, I don't believe in that sort of thing. You see, I'm a scientist by training, meaning that therefore I am an intellectual, I am intelligent, I am rational, I am scientific, and therefore I don't believe that there is anything after death. Yama is telling Nachiketa, these are childish people. They are not thinking straight. Na sāmparāyaḥ pratibhāti. Pratibhāti means does not flash upon. It's not clear to them. It does not feel real to them. Sāmparāyaḥ literally, well, one meaning would be the truth of that which is beyond this world. Another meaning would be that by Vedic ritualism, one can get good karma, which takes one to the higher worlds after death. That's a mouthful, I'll repeat. By Vedic rituals, one generates good karma, by the force of which one wins a place in the higher worlds after death. Now, this is part of being a devout person. This is part of being a religious person. In the ancient Vedic mindset, it was that in the the karma kanda, the ritualistic portion of the Vedas. Many kinds of rituals are there which promise if you follow these rituals, you're going to get go to heaven after death. Those heavens are also strictly temporary, but they are much better than this world, and certainly much better than going to any number of hells. Now, it requires faith. You see, Vedanta is much more transparent and logical, but this thing requires faith, that I will exist after death, and any kind of religious rituals or whatever is going to really help me after death. It's going to generate that good karma, and I'll go to this better place after death. All of this requires faith. And Yama says this requires intelligence. That kind of faith is a sign of a higher intelligence, which childish minds lack. They say only this world. So that is, this debate has become very huge now between the neo-atheists and people of religion. You see, all of religion depends on this, what Yama is saying. This understanding that you do survive death. If you do not survive death, there really isn't much point to any kind of religion. It might be of some practical use in this world, but whether God exists, heaven exists, all of it has no meaning if I don't exist after death. If this body goes and that's it, I'm finished, what meaning does it have for me? If death is completely my end, nothing more than that. And for everybody also it's true. So even the existence of God, existence of this so-called enlightenment, it's of no meaning to me. It makes no sense for me. So this is the big fight between, say, modern humanism, naturalism, and any kind of religious belief. So he says, it does not flash upon such people that there is this, there are heavens and all after death. That karma, good karma, leads to a better life in this life and the next life. And bad karma leads to suffering. Such a person would say, all that's your belief. As long as people don't catch me, I can do naughty things and I'm fine. And what's the use of doing good things? If I'm dead, I don't get the benefit of that. People should recognize if I do good things and give me awards and stuff like that, maybe then that's good. Otherwise, it's no use. So all this karma, leading to future lives, pleasure and pain in future lives, that I don't believe. So such people will not believe in karma also. Not believing in karma, not believing in past lives and future lives, not believing in an existence after death, let alone I am the Atman, I am existence, consciousness, bliss. There is no death for me, no birth for me also. The birth of the body is not my birth. The death of the body is not my death. There's no coming and going for me. I am that limitless illumination, that shining in which everything is appearing and disappearing. That kind of Vedantic knowledge, which will be taught later, that's far beyond the reach of such people who are not willing to believe even that there can be some kind of existence after death. That some kind of existence after death, a lot of people believe. Beyond that is the Atman or Brahman, that has to be realized. So spiritual life will not even begin for such people. He says, why don't they believe? Pramādyantaṃ vittamohena mūḍham. He says, pramāda literally means carelessness, heedlessness, thoughtlessness. It is pramāda. Literally, pramāda means mistake. They're given to this thoughtless way of living. The strange thing is, such people normally say that we are the thoughtful ones, we are the intelligent ones. You are the religious nutcases. You believe in heaven and other worlds, and that we exist before death, we'll exist after death, that those who have died, they exist in some other worlds and they'll be reborn again. Things like that. You believe they are religious nutcases. We are the intelligent ones. And Yama says, these are the foolish ones. And he will say, why is it a dire warning? What is the terrible result of this kind of thinking? He will say next. So he says it's a mistake. Pramād. Pramāda means mistake. There's a saying in Sanskrit, pramāda vai mrityu. That this kind of heedlessness is equal to death, spiritual death. That's what Yama is warning us against. Why are they given to this kind of thing? He says, this Shankaracharya comments, Putra Pashwadi Prayojaneshu Asaktamanasam. Asaktamanasam. Mind is continuously engaged in what is to be attained in this world, problems to be solved, suffering to be overcome, pleasurable things to be attained, achievements to be had in this world. Literally, he says, children and cattle and etc. So cattle was wealth in those days. You're rich if you had lots of cows. But I mean, it's I think it's still true to some extent in Texas, maybe. You're rich if you have a ranch and you have lots of cows. But today also, how much money do you have? What's your stock portfolio? How many followers you have got on Twitter? Things like that. I mean, we must admit, a lot of people are completely engaged in that, and that's real to them. That's important to them. That's urgent to them. Now, the spiritual seeker, just the opposite. It is terribly urgent that I must realize God in this very life itself. Why have I not realized God? Why do I not feel the presence of God? Or self-realization, whichever language you use. That urgency definitely does not come to such people. It's these worldly cares which are most urgent for them. Then, vittamohena, mūḍham. Mūḍham means a foolishness descends upon them. The commentator Shankaracharya compares it with darkness. Tamasācchannam. The intellect is clouded by a darkness. What is darkness? This could be unpopular. So darkness is money. He literally uses the term vittamohena, by the darkness called money. Money here stands for all kinds of worldliness. It could be literally money. It could be your possessions. It could be your shares, cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, and things like that. So all of this, he says, he compares it to a darkness. The mind becomes sucked into it and is always spent calculating how much money, how much have I got, how much have I lost, how much can I get, where can I get it, what do I have to do to get it. With a fraction of that energy and enthusiasm, one can become enlightened. One can become a Buddha. There's a funny story about a Maharaja, prince in those days, coming to our main monastery, and Swami Brahmananda was the president of our order. So very great Swami, a direct disciple of Sri Ramakrishna. Sri Ramakrishna considered him his spiritual son. So Swami Brahmananda, he was also very humorous. So he's sitting, and this Maharaja, this king, a prince, comes to him and bows down to him. And Swami Brahmananda says, well, why this deep bowing down? On what's the occasion? And the prince says with great devotion and humility, oh Swami, you have renounced so much. I am bowing down out of respect. You have renounced the word, you have renounced so much. And Swami Brahmananda said, well, what have I renounced? You are a greater renouncer. I should bow down to you. If you're bowing down for renunciation, then you have renounced more than me. The prince was taken aback. He's a prince, and this person is a monk. He said, what have I renounced, Swami? And Swami Brahmananda said, I have only renounced a few pieces of glass called samsara and got the diamond called God. You have thrown away the diamond and for a few pieces of glass. So it was a humorous way of teaching. But vittamohena, deluded by the darkness called this lust for wealth and possession. What do they think? What is their philosophy? Ayaṃ loko nāsti parāyati mānī. The firm conviction is not that I am Brahman, the world is an appearance. No, this world alone is nāsti para. There's nothing else. This world alone is. And what is this world? Commentator says, drishyamana, whatever is experienced, whatever I see, smell, taste, touch, hear. Stri annapanadi vishishto, consisting of men and women and food. Basically what he means is, by food he means all kinds of sense pleasures. By women, etc. He says women, etc. It means all relationships in this world. All of this is the world that they find so fascinating and say, this is the reality. This is all that exists. And what does Yama say? Mūḍham, deluded, stupid. I won't take the name. One of the greatest intellectuals living today said to me in one of the top Ivy League colleges there itself, on the campus, in a very exclusive place. I won't give any more details because people may find out who it is. This person said to me, Swami, this is all that there is. You tell me, but you can't say anything more than this. Whatever is there in this world, this much only you can say. I don't want to hear about anything else beyond this. I was just thinking, the Lord of Death has said, Mūḍham, fool. Fool. Why fool? What's wrong with it? He will say now. And what he's saying is truly terrifying. He says, Iti mānī. These people think. They think about it. Mananashila. They are intellectuals. They're the people who think in this way. And they come to this conclusion. There's nothing more. I really don't believe in all of that. Religion, Atman, Brahman, enlightenment, whatever it is, Hinduism, Buddhism, whatever, I don't believe in all of that. I'm intelligent. I'm smart. And then Yama says, punaḥpunarvaśamāpadyate. They die. So, okay, everybody dies. Again and again and again. They fall into my grip. Vaśamāpadyate means they fall into my grip, Yama says. They fall into the hands of death again and again. Janana maranadi lakshana. This is a Shankaracharya's commentary, writing 1400 years ago. Janana maranadi lakshana dukkha pravandharudha eva bhavati. They mount the merry-go-round, the Ferris wheel or the merry-go-round. They mount that literally he says the Ferris wheel of, or the merry-go-round of misery, dukkha pravandha, the merry-go-round of misery, consisting of births and aging and disease and old age and death. Repeat. Like rinse and wash and recycle and then back into the system again, into the merry-go-round of misery. But we're all there. Then what is special about these people? They have no chance of coming out of it until they change their thinking. On the other hand, the fortunate few who say that there is something to spiritual life, it is worth investigating. Let us follow this and try to do something about it. They have a chance of dismounting from this Ferris wheel of misery. This is dukkha pravandha, consisting of births and deaths, without cease, without any end to it. A poet sings, we are swept along on the current of life. We don't know where we have come from. We don't know where we are going. Why we carry this burden on our heads, we don't know. So the poet sings, Bandhu, he calls God the friend. Oh my friend with the capital F, the friend, the divine friend. Relieve me of this burden. I'm being swept along lifetime to lifetime. I know not why and I know not where, but I can't stop. So they are being swept along, he says. And then Shankaracharya dolefully adds, Prayena evam vidhayeva lokaha. In the worlds, people are mostly like this. There are very few people who have the grace, the blessings to be genuinely interested in spiritual life. Now, among those who are interested in spiritual life, there also, Yama will say, he narrows it down. The knowledge which I'm going to give you is most precious. Even those who have some kind of interest in spiritual life, they don't come to this knowledge so easily. And he's going to talk about that next. The next mantra is the seventh mantra. Before I go into that one, just a little point I want to make. What is the purpose of Vedanta? In fact, all spiritual life, but specifically purpose of Vedanta. It can be expressed in two ways. One way is the traditional way, which is the purpose or goal of spiritual life in all Indian systems. They talk about a circle of samsara, births and deaths, many lives. What's wrong with many lives? Sounds good. No, these are very limited lives. Guaranteed to die, guaranteed to suffer. Guaranteed to be happy also? No, no such guarantee. So this is the cycle of samsara, and this is propelled. Why is it going on? Karma, causality. Everything that we do has an effect. Every effect has a cause, and every cause will have an effect. And that's why this thing is going round and round. We are propelled by past karma into this life to get the results of that karma. While getting the results of that karma, we behave in certain ways. And so we have more karma and therefore more lives. Sometimes nice, the Ferris wheel goes high. Sometimes low, high is the higher heavens. Sometimes low, the lower hells. Sometimes in between this mortal world. But we are being whirled around. Make no mistake about it. So the freedom from this cycle of birth and death is called moksha. And that is the goal of spiritual life. Not only in Vedanta, yoga, bhakti, in Buddha, all the schools of Buddhism, Jainism, all the Indic systems, they all look at it this way. Now, one problem with this kind of thinking is, suppose a person says, I really don't believe in multiple lives. I don't see those past lives. I don't know if I've got future lives, but I surely have this one life. Can you restate? Can you reframe what spirituality does in terms of this one life? Yes, that also we can do. Another way of expressing the same truth is freedom from suffering and attainment of ultimate bliss, ultimate fulfillment. In Sanskrit, atyantika dukkha nivritti paramananda praptischa. Freedom from suffering, attainment of ultimate bliss. There's no talk about past life, future life, cycle of birth and death, freedom from cycle of birth and death. Forget that. Everybody wants freedom from suffering. Everybody wants deep, lasting satisfaction, fulfillment, the ultimate happiness. Yes, then this project of spirituality, Vedanta, guarantees that if you follow this path, if you realize who you are, that you are Brahman, you will overcome suffering and you will get lasting happiness and bliss. So these are the two ways in expressing the same thing, the same freedom, the same spiritual result is attained. But these are two ways of expressing. One talking about multiple lives and freedom from the cycle. Another just saying you will have no suffering and you will go beyond death, you will go beyond suffering and you will attain fulfillment. Now, usually I'd say the second one. Whenever I talk about the purpose of spiritual life, overcoming suffering and attainment of fulfillment. But here, Yama is stressing the first one, the multiple cycles, the belief that there are lives after death, that we existed before birth also. And this cycle of life and death and freedom from that. And there is a wisdom to that. There's a wisdom to that. I was thinking, why not make it simple and say, overcome suffering and attain bliss, and that's it. Don't talk about past lives, future lives. The thing is, if you don't talk about past lives, future lives, you just say this little life, and here you will overcome suffering and you will attain happiness, and that's it. There can be problems. One problem is, a person might say, I don't really need all of that then, all of your spirituality. I'm pretty happy already. I have a few millions saved in the bank, and my relationships are going great. My doctor has given me a clean bill of health, and things are fine for me. I don't need your spirituality. So I have overcome suffering more or less, and I'm pretty happy. So that kind of argument can come. That argument will not work if you accept multiple lifetimes. Everything that we have here, everything without any exception will be lost the moment this body goes. So nothing of that argument will not work when you accept multiple lifetimes. We are quite helpless in that case. Then only spirituality can rescue us. So the belief in cycle of birth and death, existence after death, it's actually more important. It's not enough just to say it will overcome suffering in this life and that's it. No, if you think more deeply, it is important to believe in this cycle of birth and death. And that's why that is the traditional way in which spirituality is taught in all these ancient systems. Yes. Also, a person can argue, yeah, I'm not particularly happy now. I've got many problems, But if there are no future lives, then there's no need to for spirituality also. I know that spirituality can give me happiness and can help me overcome suffering, but death will also help me to overcome suffering. So if death is the end, so suffering is the end. It's ended at death. So why do I need to go through all these boring Vedanta classes and practice meditation and all of that? And not necessary. I'll just die one day and it'll all be over. But if it is true, what all religions of the world say, death is not the end, not at all, not by any means, then I need to pause and think about all of this. So this idea of multiple births and deaths is a very profound concept. It's worth thinking about.